So, cow branding continued. So, I'm supposed to be this big, tough city girl, and he's the country boy. And I figured, you know what? I'm going to bring my cute little cowgirl hat, because I got it when I was down in New Mexico when I visited my sister. So, I brought my little hat, and they don't tell you that when you brand the cows, they kind of poop on you. Well, Danny went ahead and put him in the, I think it's called the corral, where you stick the cow's head in, and it holds the cow's head in there, and then you brand them. So he's trying to get the cows in, and this baby cow just went to the restroom. So I was like, oh great, we didn't bring extra clothes. And his friend, whose ever cows it was, he was telling me, well, go ahead and, I'll help you snip the horns off. And so I got to snip my first pair of cow horns. And to tell you the truth, my stomach wasn't quite up to it, so I ended up not doing it again. And then he asked if I wanted to, how do I put it, cut the cows so they couldn't, mate, per se. So I told him that was out of the question. I wasn't going to do that part. So I sat there and, kind of watched, and it was really cool. And I'm very glad I got to experience that. If anybody ever has a chance to go cow branding, it's one of the coolest things. But you also don't get the smell out of your house for quite a bit, up to almost a month and a half. And you never ever forget the smell. So you go driving on a little ride or something, and it's cow branding time, you can smell it like a mile away. So I ended up doing that. We went four-wheeling, and to me, four-wheeling was getting on an actual four-wheeler and kind of going in the mountains, and I was a little scared. Well, I didn't realize that four-wheeling to a country boy is actually called digging. And digging is you get in a truck and you go up the mountains, and you go really tall mountains and go down them and all kinds of stuff, and you get stuck in mud and all that fun stuff, and it's really awesome. So that's kind of what we did throughout the time that we were dating. We would spend a lot of time at his cousin Jared and Tiffany's. We ended up staying there quite often. Then we went to Heber, and your daddy asked me, I believe it was only about a month, maybe a month and a half into when we were dating. I have it marked on a calendar somewhere. I know it was in April. He asked me to marry him. But before he asked me to marry him, I'm a little hard of hearing in my left ear, because when I was in cheerleading, I got kicked and it popped my eardrum. So he whispered in my left ear, and he didn't realize that when you're far away or in another room, I can't really hear you in my left ear. But if you're right up close to it, I can hear you perfectly. Well, he leaned down and whispered in my ear, I love you, after a couple weeks dating. And that made me feel really cool, because I usually was the first to say I love you. Well, then he asked me that night if I would marry him. And I told him yes, but he would have to ask Grandpa Jordan. Now, Grandpa Jordan is a big, strong hold of the family. He's kind of like our patriarch in our family. He holds it together. And because I didn't grow up with my father, I just thought it was important for him to ask. And so he called Grandpa and asked, and Grandpa was excited, and he said yes. And then, we sat down and we thought of a date, and we picked July 21st. Well, we had met in March, so being married in July came to kind of a shock to Mom. And she kind of thought that maybe because it was 24th of July weekend, nobody would come. So I told her fine, but I can't wait no longer. So we'll get married August 4th. And it ended up being a really great day. We had a very great big country wedding, and a lot of people from Dad's side came, and a lot of people from my side came. And it was one of the coolest days, except for the day that I ended up getting sealed in the temple. That, I think, beats anything in the world. So we got married, and they ended up closing down the boot. Later on, we tried to, even after we were married, go country dancing and whatnot. On our honeymoon, we ended up, because Grandpa Fugal could not come up, we drove down to Redmond. Your dad asked what I wanted to do and told me we could do whatever I wanted. And I wanted it to be important for him to see his grandpa, and I wanted to meet them. So I felt that it was important to go down there. So we went to Redmond, and Grandpa Fugal took us to Bryce Canyon. He told me that it was a tradition. His parents did it to him and his wife and took them on their, I believe, their honeymoon or one of their anniversaries. And he took all the grandkids and the kids to Bryce Canyon, and it was a tradition. And I hope to make that one of our traditions when you guys get married, my kids, and so forth. It was kind of cool because I had never really seen deer up close until I was with your dad either. He took me out to Heber quite often while we were dating, and he would show me the deers in the mountains. Well, on our honeymoon, it was really cool because I ended up walking up to like the biggest, I think it was an elk, or no, it wasn't an elk, I think it was just a really big deer. Grandpa Fugal took a picture, and it was really awesome. And because I'm a city girl, I'm not used to like peeing off the side of the road or whatnot when there's not a bathroom. Well, one thing I remember that's really funny on our honeymoon is I had to go to the restroom, and Grandma Fugal said, pull on over so you can go off the side of the road. Well, there's lots of ants down near Bryce Canyon. So when you go to the bathroom, make sure it's raining so they're in their little ant hills. Or you got to remember, you got to keep moving while you're going to the restroom, or those little ants just are so fast and they'll crawl right up on you. So it started raining, thank God. And, I told Grandma Fugal there's lots of ants out there. And it was just really wonderful honeymoon. I'll never forget it. I think it was the best thing we could do for our honeymoon. So next video will be about Grandpa Fugal.